Huh? Time had certainly stopped for Mikuru Ikasaba. It was as if everything around her had frozen perfectly still. In the past, she was known as the ultimate soldier. She experienced this feeling before, during her time with the mercenary group, Fenderu. In situations where she was surrounded by a hopeless number of enemies within the jungle, or in a desert ruin. The charging enemies seemed as though they were frozen in time, which allowed her to claim a decisive victory in all her battles. But this wasn't a battlefield. So why did this familiar sensation activate once again? In order to understand what had happened, Mikuru slowly tried to assess the current situation from within this frozen world. Junko and Mikuru are both children of despair. But Junko Enoshima, the true ultimate despair, harbors a far deeper darkness within her. Though their last names are different, Mikuru is Junko's older sister, connected by the bonds of blood. She cooperated with Junko's hopeless plan and impersonated her under the pretense of participating in the killing game alongside her classmates. According to the plan, Mikuru was supposed to oppose Monokuma, who her sister was controlling, and be locked in a dungeon as punishment. Isolated from the others, she would then escape the dungeon and perform various acts intended to deprive the students of hope. That was the role she had been assigned. When Makoto succumbed to his headache, Junko ordered her to see if the shock had caused him to remember anything that could make him a liability. He woke up as she was tending to him, so she made small talk with him. But she didn't notice any change in his behavior. Until this point, she was certain that there shouldn't be any problems. Nothing could possibly go wrong. She stomped on Monokuma like her sister ordered her to do and flawlessly spoke the lines she was taught to memorize. Afterward, she would fall through a trapdoor into the dungeon and remain isolated from the other students. That was her role. She hadn't done anything wrong. There were no problems. There were no problems. She repeated that to herself and over like a silent prayer. But in that frozen moment in time, what she saw was not a trapdoor, but countless spears. One of them had skewered Makoto through his side. Or why? Makoto, why are there spears? Gungne, I would have died if I hadn't moved. Did Junko mess up the plan? No, Junko would never mess up. She was trying to kill me? Me? Makoto saved me. Why? Why did he say my name? Did his memories come back? Did I not realize that? Did I make a mistake? Is that why Junko got angry? No. Is this a punishment? Is it my fault? Junko tried to kill me. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. Slowly, time came back to her world. Mikuru could feel her face turning pale as she slowly looked toward Makoto. The students' screams rang throughout the gym. Sayaka was probably the first one to scream. But who screamed first didn't matter to Mikuru. Makoto! Why? Makoto was the ultimate lucky student. He had been her classmate for the past 2 years, and now he was a sacrifice to despair. Not long ago, he had given her an answer of sorts during her conversation in the nurse's office. He was just a pawn in the plan her sister had devised. But now, a feeling of doubt began forming in Makuro's mind. What did I want from Makoto? As her heart churned restlessly, she continued to think. In return, I promise that if I do decide to kill someone, it won't be you. Was I impersonating Junko then? Or did I really mean that? When did I start feeling this doubt? Just now. The moment he saved me. Or when he spoke in the nurse's office earlier. Or when I first confronted him about this killing game before his memories returned. Or was it before even that? Makuro stood there, confused and overwhelmed, as Makoto slowly opened his eyes. the spear still impaling him through the side. Makuro. Makoto, are you okay? Makuro was no longer impersonating the ultimate fashionista. Looking up from the floor of the gym, Makoto asked, "Why are you dressed up like Junko?" He was smiling. Maybe he couldn't feel the pain anymore. Or maybe he was being affected by something else. But regardless, Makoto ignored the fact that he was dying just to give Makuro his warm smile. I'm glad you're safe, Makuro. As soon as she heard Makoto's weak, fading voice, something inside Makuro snapped. From within the shell of despair she had built up, an intense emotion began flowing out. No. This is all wrong. She couldn't hold back that emotion any longer. No. And for the first time in her entire life, Makuro unleashed a scream into the world. As Makuro fell to her knees and clutched her head, a small shadow started walking toward her back. The stuffed animal that had been under her foot. Monokuma. His claws were extended, and he was no longer walking with his usual waddle. Instead, he moved like a beast, silently stalking its prey as he slowly advanced within his target's blind spot. As he inched closer to Makuro, Monokuma raised his razor-sharp claws, crouched on his haunches, and suddenly leapt toward the back of her neck. However, just before those claws could reach the paralyzed Makuro, a dark shadow moved in from the side and swatted those claws away with one blow. His lunge deflected, Monokuma was sent flying through the air, spinning wildly before crashing into the wall.
Damn you! What are you trying to do?
Sakura Ugami, the ultimate martial artist, had just prevented another tragedy. She stood before Monokuma and addressed him in a loud, booming voice. Not only did you attempt to kill Junko for violating school regulations, you even attacked Makoto, who had nothing to do with this. If you plan to continue acting in such a savage manner, there's no reason for us to play along with your game. Byakuya Togami, the ultimate affluent progeny, smirked condescendingly at Sakura. Fool. One could say you've now violated school regulations with your senseless actions. He looked as if he honestly did not care if his fellow students lived or died at all. Well, she merely deflected the headmaster's attack just now. So I do not think it truly counts as an act of violence. Like Byakuya, Celeste seemed unfazed as she chided him over his words. However, the banter between the two was enough to stir the stunned students to action. Makoto! Saka was the first one to run toward Makoto, who lay bleeding from his stomach. But Monokuma stopped her, shouting in a tone of voice that seemed completely out of character.
Be careful! Don't get too close to those two!
Huh? Startled by Monokuma's desperate tone, Sayaka and the others stopped moving almost instinctively. The students looked around at each other. Instead of his usual playful gait, Monokuma walked toward them with deliberate, methodical steps. And then, he suddenly blurted out something that took everyone, including Mikuru Ikasaba, by surprise.
I'm sure you're probably confused by this sudden turn of events, but I want you guys to work together.
Huh? As Mikuru slowly turned her head toward Monokuma, he pointed at her and yelled,
Mikuru Ikasaba and her accomplice, Makoto Naagi, are the terrorists responsible for locking you all inside this academy.
Once again, time stopped for Mikuru. But this time, she wasn't the only one affected. Everyone seemed to be frozen in shock. After a few seconds of silence, Ayo Asahina, the ultimate swimming pro, spoke first.
Huh? You're kidding, right? I mean, Makoto is a terrorist. That's impossible. And who's Mikuru anyway? I mean, that's Junko?
Monokuma began slowly explaining to Ayo.
The real Junko must be in prison somewhere in the school. Worst case scenario, she might be killed. Mikuru must have researched which one of you would be easiest for her to impersonate, then hid among you all by pretending to be her. She was probably trying to make sure the killing game went smoothly.
Suddenly, Monokuma's hands and feet began jerking in an awkward motion as he looked at the other students and introduced himself. Wait, Monokuma did?
I'm Basiki Marurai, the ultimate hacker. I'm your upperclassman. I hacked into the academy from the outside, and I was finally able to take control of Monokuma's body just a little while ago. Take control? From who? From the head of the terrorist organization that's controlling this robot from the outside.
What? What are you saying, Junko? Mikuru trembled as she heard the words coming out of Monokuma's mouth. For a brief moment, she clung to the hope that her sister wasn't trying to kill her, but as soon as that hope was born, it was immediately consumed by despair. Junko had the power to transform hope into despair. She would never let anyone hack her that easily. There's only one explanation. Junko Enoshima was pretending to be someone named Basiki in order to frame Mikuru and Makoto. It was as though Junko was using Makuro's survival as a branching path to lead the students to a different despair. Monokuma continued talking, telling the students more lies designed to prod them to action.
On your first day at Hope's Peak Academy, you guys were exposed to sleeping gas, knocked unconscious, and taken hostage. Mikuru and Makoto are probably the only operatives that the terrorists sent inside the school. That means they probably know how to escape from here.
And then Monokuma turned to face Mikuru.
Mikuru Ikasawa was a member of a mercenary group called Venderu. She's a wanted criminal who's killed over 10 people associated with the school. So don't get soft and think you can capture her alive. In fact, that's exactly what the cops told me. So the moment I saw an opening, I tried hacking the trap they set and tried to kill her. But what about Makoto?
Monokuma gave a cold, emotionless answer to Sayaka's question.
My guess is that a measly little ultimate lucky student didn't stand a chance of defying a group like Venderu. He was probably threatened and forced to cooperate before you even entered the school. Or, judging from his earlier actions, maybe Mikuru seduced him.
Sayaka's face went pale when she heard that answer, and she immediately stopped talking. Mikuru raised her head and shouted, "You're wrong! Makoto isn't a terrorist! You'll have to believe me!" The whole gym fell silent. And then, as if he was speaking for everyone there, Taka stepped forward and nervously asked, Hold on. What do you mean, Makoto isn't a terrorist? It sounds like you're saying that there's no doubt that you, in fact, are a terrorist. I ask that you correct yourself at once and say, we are not terrorists. Celeste began expressing her own doubts as well. It is strange. Does it not seem odd that she is so protective of someone we all just met a few days ago? Mikuru stood in silence. The other students' faces began to fill with suspicion and doubt as they realized they weren't looking at the real Junko Enoshima. Byakuya pushed up his glasses and began coldly pointing out what seemed out of place to him. I heard that fool Makoto, whatever his name is, call you Mikuru instead of Junko. How would Makoto know that your name is really Mikuru if he just met you not that long ago? I've also heard of Venderu, continued Byakuya. As I recall, it's members of a tattoo somewhere on their body. Instinctively, Byakuya's words put Mikuru into a calm state of mind. In hostile situations, her defensive reflexes as the ultimate soldier often manifested themselves. Mikuru's tattoo was on the back of her right hand. She wondered how she could hide this from the other students without also calling attention to it. But in the end, this concern was in vain. If the police's records are true, she should have a tattoo on the back of her right hand. As Monokuma freely divulged that information. All right, cried Taka, his voice filled with enthusiasm. Show us the back of your right hand and prove your innocence. Monokuma dispensed another unnecessary remark.
Make sure you look real close. She might have covered it up with foundation.
Junko had ordered Mikuru to hide her tattoo with foundation, so Monokuma's information was entirely true. There was nothing Mikuru could do except stay quiet. However, she wasn't staying quiet because her identity was about to be exposed. She was struck by the realization that her sister was completely serious about pinning this on her. Why the heck? the hesitation? Shouted the foolishly honest Taka. As my classmate, I have complete faith in you! From behind him, Hifumi Yamada, the ultimate fanfic creator, murmured to himself as cold sweat ran down his cheeks.
Well, look at that. I guess this is what they call a checkmate, huh? Why don't you just fess up already, you fucking bastard?
In contrast to Hifumi, Mondo Iwata, the ultimate biker gang leader, was royally pissed. However, there were some students who were busy questioning Monokuma instead of Mikuru. Hey, you're not coming to save us? Shouted Leon Kuwata, the ultimate baseball star. You should hurry up and charge in here already. Monokuma looked at Leon and shook his head softly.
The police can't help you right now. Not only are you guys hostages, it's possible the entire school has been rigged with explosives and poisonous gas. I hacked into this Monokuma robot to investigate that for myself.
Then what about everyone on that DVD? What about everyone outside the school? Asked Sayaka. The memory of the DVD she was forced to watch yesterday still weighed heavily on her mind, but Monokuma didn't have a clear answer.
I don't know anything about any DVDs, but there are definitely terrorists causing havoc out here. Law enforcement around the world is in shambles trying to deal with us.
That's impossible. Sayaka shuddered and collapsed to her knees. Sayaka. Next to her, Chihiro Fujisaki, the ultimate programmer, was unsure about what she should do. Behind her, two other girls stood silently. The first one was Toko Fukuwa, the ultimate writing prodigy. She seemed to be trying very hard not to look at Makoto as he lay bleeding. The other was a quiet girl who hadn't talked about herself much, named Kyoko Kirigiri. Unlike Toko, Kyoko was watching everything intently, as if she were studying the scene of a crime. From Makoto's breathing patterns to subtle changes in Makuro's facial expression, nothing was escaping her attention. Suddenly, Toko began nervously talking to Sakura. So anyway, let's just say that Makuro woman or whoever, well, there's a terrorist. Hurry up and beat her to death or something.
We don't know that yet,
said Sakura.
My fists do not mete out justice based on simple speculation.
Sakura tried to get near Makoto to examine his wounds, but Monokuna stood in her way, shouting,
Don't come any closer!
This meant that Makuro was the only one who could get close to Makoto. She had ended countless lives on the battlefield, she knew from experience. If she didn't treat Makoto's wounds, he would die. His wounds were not immediately fatal, but if he continued losing blood, he would eventually slip into shock and die shortly thereafter. Please, you need to treat Makoto first. Absolutely not, said Byakuya, harshly interrupting Makuru. Tying you up and examining the back of your right hand is our first priority. Hey, Makoto's in danger. Now's not the time for that, said Ayo, as she cast a worried glance at Makoto. She was still having trouble understanding the situation and hadn't decided if Makoto was suspicious or not. Byakuya was about to snap back at her, but Makuro's action stunned him into silence. She took a deep breath and then Makuro removed the blonde wig from her head. Where there were two long, blonde pigtails only a moment before, there was now short, black hair. She cleared her face of all emotion, and when she spoke, her voice rang throughout the gym. I'm not Junko Enoshima. My name is Makuru Ikasaba. The students stared wide-eyed at her open confession. All she did was remove her wig and clear her emotions. But in doing so, the person the students had recognized as Junko Enoshima vanished from their sight. The terrorists that had taken her place continued to speak in a calm, stoic tone. I helped lock everyone inside this academy. The confession on a seaside cliff moment has finally arrived, Hifumi blurted out. What? Wigs are against school regulations, Junko. I mean, Makuru, shouted Taka. As if stirred by their cries of excitement, the other students began clamoring among themselves. Huh? Said Yasuhiro. So Makoto's wounds are like, real? Does that mean that stuff about terrorists and whatever it is all real too? So everything that's happened these past few days wasn't a bunch of staged events? As the reality of the situation began dawning on Yasuhiro, all Leon could say to him was, "Shut the hell up!" Byakuya just remained calm and addressed Mikuru in a condescending manner. "What does your group want? If you were after money, you would have already tried to negotiate with me. Of course, I'd rather let them die than surrender to your ransom demands. Our purpose is to fill the world with despair." Byakuya scoffed at this notion and began to speak once again. "I see. Monokuma said something similar, so that ideology is what fuels your terrorism? It's true. If you did anything to me, you would certainly fill the world with despair. But obviously, that would be impossible for you." Heiau couldn't believe what Byakuya was saying, and frowned as she muttered,
How self-centered can you be?
After confirming that Byakuya had no more questions for her, Mikuru looked at Makoto, whose breathing had slowed, and let her voice show some emotion.
But Makoto has nothing to do with this. You can't believe what Monokuma says.
"What did you say, bitch?" shouted Mondo. "I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're a terrorist, just like Monokuma said." Mikuru looked away from Mondo and continued speaking.
That's true, but Makoto isn't involved at all. Celeste coldly brushed her objection aside. I do not think trying to protect him will do any good. After all, we all heard Makoto call you by your real name. That's...
She had no words. There was nothing she could say to protect Makoto. Even though Makoto was truly innocent, though Mikuru was the ultimate soldier, her powers were largely limited to battle. Even a normal high school student could outwit her when it comes to debate and negotiation. If she were the ultimate negotiator, she might be able to convince them that their memories had really been erased. But in her current situation, if she tried to bring up their memory loss, they would think it was a desperate excuse. Even Mikuru knew that. But even if she didn't know what to say, she still knew what to do.
Right now, we need to treat Makoto first.
And then, she started walking toward Makoto as if nothing had happened. To the others, it seemed like Mikuru had decided to abruptly change the subject. "Hold it! We will immediately take Makoto to the nurse's office for treatment. However, we must tie you up." This was Sakura's honest demand. But there was no way Mikuru could accept it. If she was separated from Makoto, there'd be no telling what Monokuma would tell them. In between Mondo's hot temper and Byakuya's cold heart, Makoto could easily sustain further injuries under the pretense of interrogation. Furthermore, among these students, Mikuru knew she was the only one who had experienced treating wounds due to her time with Fenderu. After mulling that over, she narrowed her eyes and went silent. Her mind was made up. She was determined to fight her way out of here and escape with Makoto.
I apologize, but I need you to fall asleep right now.
As she said that, Sakura instantly positioned herself behind Mikuru. She was completely within her blind spot. To a normal person, it would have seemed like Sakura had finally vanished. After moving faster than any human being could see, Sakura's equally fast hands launched a blow toward the back of Makuru's neck. However...
Sorry, Sakura, but I need to get out of here.
Mikuru parried Sakura's fist with a spinning roundhouse kick. Oh crap, this is getting good! Ugh. Sakura raised an eyebrow at the unexpected counterattack. Mikuru tried to use the momentum of her kick to sweep Sakura's feet out from under her. However, Sakura dodged it instinctively, struck back against Makuru's pivoted leg. But Mikuru was fast and jumped up, aiming a tornado kick at Sakura's chin. Sakura deflected the attack with one arm, and then both combatants leapt backwards, glared, and charged simultaneously. Every blow that dealt was parried and countered by the other, and though they were both unarmed, the sound of their battle echoed throughout the gym. This is getting good! It was like a typhoon had been compressed to the side of a car and set loose inside the gym. The other students were powerless to stop them. All they could do was stare at the breathtaking dance of death unfolding before them. After 10 minutes had passed, the enormous sound of one final impact rang throughout the gym. The two warriors leapt back once again and breathed heavily as they stared each other down. My mistake. Though it's only been a few days. I cannot believe I did not notice such an impressive fighter was hiding among us. In addition to the surprise Sakura felt, It was as if the battle had left her energized. Makuru, on the other hand, looked down at her arm, confirmed it had been wounded during the battle, and thought to herself, she's strong. I don't think Sakura's even taking this seriously right now. Despite being constantly surrounded by firearms, blades, traps, and explosives during her time with Vender, this was the first time she had ever been wounded. Makuru was powerless before the might of the woman known as the ultimate martial artist and the strongest woman in the world. Just as I thought, I can't beat Sakura with my own bare hands alone. If she had been directly ordered to kill Sakura, Makuru would have opted to either snipe her from a distance or poison her. Oh, that's frickin' dirty. At this close range, she would need an assault rifle just to stand a fighting chance. I don't have time for this. He looked at Makoto and confirmed that his breathing had grown even shallower. I need to hurry. But at that moment, she had no one to turn to for help. Suddenly, Makuru had an idea. It was true that gaining an ally in this situation was impossible. However, she could still turn one person into her enemy's enemy. Makuru took a deep breath before she charged at Sakura. Then she immediately fainted and charged at a different girl. Toko, who had been cowering in fear from the battle between Sakura and Makuru in the corner of the gym.
This is bad.
Sakura was caught off guard and tried to run after her, but Makuru was one step ahead and reached Toko first.
No, not Toko! Huh? Why me? I'm sorry. Wait, hold on.
Makuru jabbed Toko in her solar plexus, and she fell into her arms.
No! Taka and Ayo yelled out in shock. This is bad! She plans to use Toko as a hostage! Toko!
In contrast to their shocked faces, Byakuya just snickered and coldly remarked, "You fool. Do you really think we care if you take someone we just met a few days ago as your hostage?" Makuru just softly glanced at Byakuya and replied, "You didn't meet her a few days ago." "What did you say?" "You met her 2 years ago." "Huh?" Byakuya scowled. Makuru ignored him and held her bloody arm in front of Toko's face. And then she yelled into her ears, "Wake up, Genocide Jack!" Huh? It seems so random and out of place. Why would Makuru mention the name of a notorious serial killer right now? The students looked at each other with confusion when suddenly, Toko, who had been groaning in pain, suddenly kicked off of the floor of the gym with renewed vigor. She leapt into the air much higher than any normal human should have been able to. While hovering several meters in midair, Toko twirled faster than a professional figure skater. This caused her skirt to flutter, revealing multiple pairs of sparkling scissors. Countless tally marks were scratched into her legs like a kill count carved into a fighter jet. Oh, that's why that's on her legs in the game. Another episode, I get it. If not for the situation, Toko's glamorous jumps and spins would have been a sight to behold. The girl formerly known as Toko Fukawa cackled wildly, her red eyes sparkling as her absurdly long tongue flopped out of her mouth.
You called for me, and so I appear. I've got a murder IOU for YOU.
Oh my god, this is getting good, guys. Toko. The situation had changed so drastically that even Sayaka, who was silent until now, spoke up.
Hey, you flash in the pan?
Don't treat Genocide Jack like that depressing little four eyes. That dirty girl doesn't bathe herself at all, so I gotta put in 5 times the effort to rub myself down in the shower. Toko's sudden change in personality sent the students clamoring among themselves. Hey! Leon yelled. What the hell does that mean? Monokuma just shook his head.
There are some things even I don't understand.
The students continued to panic at the strange turn of events. Toko, now calling herself Genocide Jack, took out a set of scissors from under her skirt and snipped them with glee as she looked around the gym. Huh?
Man, it's been a while since I got to stretch my legs. So what are you guys gonna do here at the gym while I was snoozing anyway? Have an orgy?
Ooh, okay.
I understand. I totally understand. You guys need me to cut up your clothes so you can feel even naughtier.
Yeah, right.
Why the hell would I do that for you dumbasses? My scissors are only meant for cutting the supple, tender flesh of adorable boys.
Genocide Jack was causing a ruckus, but when she saw Makoto laying on the floor, she tilted her head once again.
Huh? Big Mac, you're like totally about to die. What's the deal? Did the world fill you with so much despair that you all came here to commit mass suicide? That's so hot, but why are you staring without me?
Toko, cried Ao. Get a hold of yourself. Genocide Jack ignored Ao and let her emotions run unchecked, jumping and dancing with excitement as she held her scissors.
Aw, jeez. I wanted to stab Big Mac's side myself.
The spot right here, where the ribs are kind of showing already.
He's not even screaming right now, though.
What does that mean? Oh well, maybe I can just get used to this feeling of alienation instead. I have no idea what's going on anymore, shouted Yasuhiro.
This is all the alien's fault!
Yasuhiro buried his head into his arms, but no one was paying attention to him. The student's attention was entirely focused on Genocide Jack. Using that to her advantage, Makuro began sneaking over to Makoto. As she cautiously picked him up, she confirmed that his body temperature was starting to decrease. I could still make it there in time. Though she was carrying another person, Makuro managed to soften the sound of his footsteps as she ran for the gym doors. By the time the students heard Makuro open the door, it was already too late. She had managed to escape the gym with Makoto. However, not everyone was unaware of what Makoto was doing. Monokuma saw her movements out of the corner of his eye, but chose not to tell the students. And one other person, Kyoko Kirigiri. She saw Makuro carry Makoto away, but did not inform the others as she watched them leave in silence. As everyone wrestled with their own personal thoughts and speculations, Hope's Peak Academy began walking a path toward a completely different chaos.
Hope will never die!